What's up, people? I have wanderlust recently. I don't know why. I can't stay still. Can't stay at home. I need to be out. And everywhere I go, there are signs that say private property. There's a sign that said, it said private, no. It said something, it said easement, like something easement as a ownership terminology type of a thing. I'd never seen it before, but it was on this fence. It's all owned, right? Everything's owned. Every bit of the land is owned. Property? What does this mean? I don't know what this stuff means. It's odd. Everywhere you go, somebody's owning something. Someone's always owning something. Even me being here, this is, I believe, the backside of the hospital. Even me being here, my presence, I'm sure, is already known by some security camera or other. And they're like, well, that person isn't supposed to be there. Let's go find out what he's doing. What's that person doing there? Why is he walking on that road? What's his purpose? Restricted area. Authorized personnel only. There's signs on everything. And I even have a feeling of like, you get that feeling. You internalize that feeling that feeling of that you're not supposed to be somewhere. You were taught that young. You were taught about personal property, about where you should be going all the time, what you should be doing, how you should be talking. All of this stuff you were taught as a very young person. And you're automatically excluded from exploration. But I wasn't. I wasn't excluded from exploration because our parents didn't restrict us. We were homeschooled, and as long as we did the work, we were free to explore outside all day. And that we did. And there was no rules. There was no shackles. There was no bondage. We owned the land, basically, without titles, without we were free roaming. The idea of property or ownership was never even a thing I wanted to also talk about Wetiko. Wetiko is the term, it's another word that's used to talk about the parasite, the shadow self of humanity, the condition part of the detrimental sounding phrase human condition. That's the condition, is Wetiko. It's like a energetic psychological bug or virus that apparently, and this of course you don't need to necessarily take as a literal sickness or as a physical sickness of any kind, although you can do with it what you want. But from my understanding and from the little bit of research I did, Wetiko is the primary cause of humans' issues. Humans' inability to get along with other humans, our constant need to be in war, our constant need for instant gratification, our need for all kinds of television, our need for beer, our need for all of these things that alter our state of consciousness. Wetiko is understood as it's our projections. Wetiko is what might be called the cause of our projections, and negative projections mainly. It causes humans to project out fears, insecurities, judgments onto the other, being other humans, other countries, other races, and the more divisions the better for the virus, because each division, say this person is white, this person is a union worker, this person is black, this person is a woman, this person's a wife, this person's a son, this person's a daughter, this person's a fireman. The more identities that people have, the more options there are for Wetiko to propagate, because with every single identity there is a new possibility for humans to contrast themselves with that other identity that they have not claimed for themselves, to contrast their identity with that one, and many times in a negative manner, not always, but oftentimes it provides the foundation for contrasting yourself and all your issues and projecting blame, projecting your insecurities, projecting everything that you consider to be a problem in your life. The identities of the other provide the means for expelling the negative energy that we get from our own insecurities. So we project it out into the world on other people, and many times the projections that we make are pure generalizations, and they have very little to no relevance to the actual situation, which you will find out if, say, you have an issue with a person that you know, and you think this, and this about them. At least that's what's going on in your head. And say you had a change of heart about that person, or you decided to finally talk to them. Well, guess what? And I've experienced this in real life with myself and with others. When you go talk to that person, your projections, your thoughts about them, your Wetiko syndrome virus essentially is incorrect on all levels, and whatever you thought about them just had no relevance to the actual reality that they were living internally. So the Wetiko it's like the shadow self, the shadow imagination, the dark imagination, the fears has a lot to do with fears, negative emotions. It's all about that when we're not acknowledging that within ourselves, when we're not facing our inner darkness, when we're not claiming it as ours and as necessary to be dealt with in some way, then had to catch the rat. There's all kinds of rats all over here. Anyway, I don't know if you saw the rat or not, but yeah, so when we are either unable to or refuse to or didn't even know that they exist, about the negative projections and the darks, the shadow self, when we stuff all that under the rug, it doesn't really get stuffed under the rug, it comes out in projections onto the other or the other humans. Everything else besides ourselves and our body is other, unless we're somehow a hive mind being, which I'm pretty sure you're not. Maybe you are, I don't know. But it all gets, the shadow part gets projected onto the other, and that projection stays in our subconscious or our psyche or the larger mind of humanity. And that subconscious, that psyche right there, provides the energy for physical manifestation of extreme negativity, like war, like mainly like war, the war is a result of us stuffing. Any of us who have not dealt with our negativities, our shadow self aspects, the war is physical manifestation of that negativity finally needing an outlet because it can't stay under the surface for too long, because as you all know, if you keep stuffing emotions, they come out in, a fit of rage, or somebody attacks his coworkers, or somebody just has a psychotic break and they kill themselves, or all kinds of things happen when we don't deal with our emotions. And Wetiko is just a name that's put to our shadow self. It's not necessarily an actual thing that you can pinpoint in the human brain or in the physical body, but it's been known about for ages and centuries. And the Wetiko is the same thing as the parasite. It could be the same thing as the AI, the archontic influence, the vampiric energy stealing consciousness that is outside of our realm of perception. The Don Juan Carlos Castaneda, same thing. Anywhere you hear about Earth being a prison planet, same thing. There's, at the heart of all of that, there's the darkness, the insatiably hungry darkness that feeds off of our negative energy. And that's said to be, or felt to be, the motive behind humanity in the never-ending struggle to get along with one another, when it would appear that there's enough for everyone here. There's enough food, there's enough land, and it would appear that humans aren't just naturally evil, even though religions try to teach us that, especially Catholicism with the idea of original sin. Even regular Christianity with the idea that you need to be saved by a savior. It carries with it the automatic assumption that humans are born flawed. And that's an example of the Wernicke commands that Og was talking about. Maybe I'll put that in the title too, so you can look that up. But the Wernicke commands are just sayings or phrases that you heard from somebody else that you internalized, and they act on you in a subconscious manner. So if you were younger and someone always said, well, you're never gonna be good at basketball, because they beat you one game. They might have said something like that, and if you respected that person, that command there, the Wernicke command, possibly stays in your subconscious and actively blocks you from ever becoming good at basketball, or more importantly, not necessarily never becoming good at basketball, but never allowing yourself to believe and to see that you're good at basketball, even if maybe by a whole bunch of other people's definitions you're maybe the best in the city or you're the best around. Still, if you have that Wernicke command in you and it's highly influencing your psychic state, your psyche, then even if you become Kobe Bryant and you're one of the best, then you still you won't, sorry, there's bugs all over. You won't accept it for yourself. You won't accept that you're really good at basketball because you still carried that command that somebody gave you when you were super young. You don't even remember, but it's still in your subconscious and it's still informing your belief system of whether or not you're good at basketball. And this can carry on to anything, whether you're a good human, whether you're kind, whether you're talented, whether you're going to be successful in your career. And apparently we all have these things stuck in our subconscious, and apparently also there's a fix for it. And you can go to an expert at these things and get the Wernicke commands removed. And I might be mispronouncing that word. It's a strange looking name, but yeah, you can get them removed. The same thing as if you've ever listened to Rich 2150X, fascinating guy. He talks about out-of-body experiences and all this, but he also talks about removing contracts or negating soul contracts that you've made unwittingly to your current conscious state. And the Wernicke command removal is maybe a similar concept, perhaps on a lesser scale than what Rich is talking about with soul contract revocations. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up because it's getting long. But with Wetiko virus idea, it's not, the idea isn't that you need to go into a panic because it exists, because you don't need to worry about whether it's called Wetiko or whether that particular thing, name, matters or not. You just need to look at the humans and see that things are just off. You know, look inside of your heart and see that things feel off. And if they don't feel off, then fine. There's no reason to try to convince yourself that they do. But if they do feel off, then you owe it to yourself to right the situation as much as possible, and to everybody else around you. And acknowledging our shadow self and minimizing the amount of incorrect projection that we push onto others is very important in this process. And removal of Wernicke commands, I'm sure, will help in that process, because if we're projecting, or rather if we're, how we view ourselves, we also view others. So if we view ourselves in a negative light and we think we have all these judgments on ourselves, well, we look at the other in the same way. Even if it's a dichotomous relationship where we, you know, if we think we're really good at something, then we look at the other and we automatically flip it and say, oh, well, that person's really bad at it, I'm the best. Or you do reverse of that, but still you're in a relationship with the other and they are a reflection of you. And if you heal yourself as much as you can, the external will be healed too. We can't understand how that happens or how that works, but that is how it works. So if you're interested in either of those concepts, do some research, see how you feel about it, and yeah, we heal from within, not from without.